Things about narcolepsy that are still pretty confusing to me, that I don't quite understand, but I wanted to talk about them, I guess, for my own peace of mind, to get it out there, and also in hopes that maybe someone else might have some insights or might experience this. But yeah, there are a few things that sort of confuse me, especially with how I experience narcolepsy. One of them is, some days I'll wake up and feel the excessive daytime sleepiness straight away, and it will be a real struggle to get through the day. I guess the symptoms are a lot more expected, routine, and tangible to sort of grasp. Usually most days after the 4 hours, the excessive daytime sleepiness kicks in and the sleep attacks start to come in along with the cataplexy. And for the rest of the day, I don't really have many hours of wakefulness, of being functional enough to sort of problem solve and get a lot of the usual tasks done in my day. And then every now and then there'll be a day where I don't know if it's that I convince myself or delude myself, where I can do a bit more and I can problem solve a bit more, and I can't tell if that's because I'm for whatever reason having a good day, or that I've reverted back to pre-diagnosis me, leaning on coping mechanisms and ways around things, of ways around problem solving. I just can't tell. It's hard. It's hard, especially comparing it back to pre-diagnosis me. Obviously I'm still here, so I was able to get through a lot more of my symptoms, and I've come to understand that it was likely to do with my reliance on adrenaline. Like I used to will myself to get the adrenaline going. If I was tired and a task needed to be done and there was a likelihood I was going to be too tired to complete it, I would make up crazy scenarios, like if you don't get this done you're going to die or something bad's going to happen, and that would be enough to sort of push me through. So I don't know if on the days where I seem to be able to do more, whether that's happening and I'm only able to do it because I'm getting the adrenaline going again, or if I truly am just more awake on that day. I don't know, but it really bugs me. This condition bugs me because it's not consistent, and having the good days and the bad days, it really does confuse you, especially when you don't actually completely know why. And it does make you question yourself. It makes me question, like, oh, do I really have this thing? Because on that day, or on today, I was able to do more. And I guess it shouldn't matter why, but it does. I think because this condition can be so wishy-washy, and because it's, the symptoms aren't always consistent, it just really makes me question a lot of things, and I guess it makes it difficult for people on the outside too. I've seen this in a few narcolepsy forums where people with narcolepsy have reported, people saying, well, you were good yesterday, why can't you do that today, kind of thing. And yeah, that's definitely the case with me. Like, there are some days where, for whatever reason, I do have a bit more stamina and I'm able to push through, but I don't know why that's happening. I don't know if it's because I'm going back to survival mode, or because I literally am just having a good day. I guess that bothers me because I can't communicate why that's happening to someone when they're confused. So yeah, there's a lot of comparisons. There's a lot of times where I look back to pre-diagnosis me and I'm like, yeah, you could just do that again. But I know in every instance there's always been a breaking point where whatever I was doing to manage and to get by, it's not something that you can keep up with, because there is that breaking point where I can't do those things anymore. I can't get the adrenaline going. I can't put on the awake face. And that's just, I don't know, it's confusing. It's like, do I go back to pre-diagnosis me that didn't know about this and didn't know how impaired I was? And, he got through. What's to say that he can't get through now? And I guess it keeps coming back to the point where it wasn't sustainable. So that just really confuses me and becomes frustrating, because I end up referring to like two versions of myself. It makes me really hard to settle in the me that is experiencing things now. I just keep splitting myself into the two different sides of me, and it's like, do I try and balance them? Because obviously there was some benefit to pushing through when I used to, and I could sort of get things done if they really needed to be done, but also knowing that that's not sustainable. So it's like, where do you find the midpoint? To me, I know it's a lot easier to grasp if I just either be the sleepy me all the time, even on the days when I'm not sleepy, because that's easier to manage, or do I, okay, today's going to be a day where I'm going to push through because, I don't know, I want to know I can still get stuff done. It's hard trying to figure out which side of me to accept and which side of me to let take the limelight in any given moment. So I don't know, this probably doesn't make sense to a lot of people, but it just got me thinking. I guess what got me onto this line of thinking was a couple of days ago I had to take my car in for a service early in the morning, and that was in a period where I would normally sleep, and keeping to a sleeping schedule is really important to me because it means that I can administer my medication routinely and reliably, so then I have a better expectation the next day of when I'm going to be awake. But this was one of the days where the period of time I would normally sleep, it wasn't worth me going to sleep because I would miss my alarm and not be able to get my car into the mechanic in time. So I actually kept myself awake. I didn't sleep for over 24 hours so I could get this done, and it meant that I started the day extremely tired and, symptoms at their worst, and it forced me to bring out the old me, which had to figure out ways to get through the day while tired, while symptoms are at the worst. And it happened quite automatically, and I did get through my day. It was a struggle. I mean, at one point I couldn't walk to go pick up my car, but I relied upon what used to work, which was to give myself an ultimatum that if you don't get your car, then you're not going to be able to get home tonight and you're not going to be safe. So I pushed through and I got it done. When I got home, I was very exhausted and I couldn't stay awake, so I slept for a long time. And then today I ended up being quite alert and quite awake, and it just confused me. I was like, okay, like, the takeaway is that you can fight through if you really need to. But then the question is that something you should do all the time, or is that something you want to encourage in yourself? Because then you go back to denying your symptoms and denying you're tired, and then you go back into ignorance because you convince yourself that you are a functional human being all of the time. And then you lose sight of actually realizing how impaired you are. So it was just really, really frustrating and confusing, and, you know, got me thinking. So, yeah, that's something I've been really struggling with. I've obviously had a bit of time now to work out a routine, work out what works for me, work out when I'm the sleepiest and when I shouldn't do things, even though knowing that I can push through if I need to. That's been really beneficial because it means that I haven't had to deny and hide my symptoms, and it's meant that I've been able to create some helpful and reliable expectations of myself. But on the downfall, you know, I worry that I will lose the ability to push through and lose the ability to draw upon the ways around my symptoms that I used to employ when I had to. So it's like either one or the other. It's like, okay, live as the sleepy person you are, but live that 100% of the time so that it can be manageable and expectations can be a lot easier to grasp. Or be the person that denies the sleepiness, puts on these masks, relies upon adrenaline, and seemingly gets through and is able to do more. It's like, you know, where's the middle ground? Should there be a middle ground? Or should I just accept? Yeah, I don't know, I'm rambling. Don't even know if this makes sense, but it's, oh man. It's like, what mode of being do you accept? And what mode of being is the most helpful and healthy? Hard to rectify.